Let's do this. Another great episode of the Wellness Farmer Podcast, where your health is our focus. I take what has become too complex and help you by simply focusing on where health is found inside of you. How do we empower ourselves to feel our best? Well, with chiropractic care, eating nutrient dense food grown on fertile soil without chemicals, adequate movement, and natural internal dialogue. On this podcast, I put emphasis on growing your own food and storing it using the permaculture and modern survivalism lifestyles. And on today's episode 197, I go into another part of the whys we should be growing our own food. I usually talk about the importance of eating nutrient-dense food grown on fertile soil without chemicals, but there is more to it than just that, and it all comes back to your health, the health of your family, and the health of your community. So enjoy this episode. Today is the 10th of December 2018, and I'm Ben Page, your host. And before we get into the main content, just a couple things. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go do that, because every other week I am actually sharing a new video of my journey to grow some of my own food here in the middle of the city. We are now in winter, but it's a beautiful day and it feels like spring, but we are going into spring, so that's where you're going to be seeing my little garden going. And of course, it's little, but of course I'm growing some of my food, and that's what's important. Grow some of your food. And we're going to be talking about that today. So go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. It's Pastos Verdes Farm. You can look for it. And also just go to my webpage. You can find it there, pastosverdesfarm.com. Before I get into the main content too, just one more thing. If you guys didn't know, I have a book called The 4 Pillars of Health that is out. You can get the digital, the book, and also the audio version. It's all available at Amazon.com. And if you are getting anything out of this podcast, or if you feel you want to give back to me, there's a great way to do that, and you actually get some free things with it if you kind of support me. That is at patreon.com. So go to patreon.com or go to my website, pastosverdesfarm.com. Click on the Patreon button on the right, and you get all the information down at that website, even a little video explaining exactly how you can help me, as I am trying, hopefully, to help you. Hopefully you're getting some value out of this podcast. All right, so let's get into the main content. So growing your own food is important in many ways. I'm almost always talking about the importance of growing your own food as a way to give our ecosystem of cells the nutrients they need in the exact amount that they need at the exact time they need it, without having to worry about that. Isn't it crazy how easy our part is? Give our bodies food that is grown in fertile soil without chemicals or modernized seed. I say that, but I know it's not that easy in today's modern world. One will either say it is too expensive, or will say they don't have room to grow it. These are two valid reasons why it is very difficult, or difficult. The solution to being too expensive is growing yourself. But what if you don't have room to plant much food? Like me, for example, and you can see that on YouTube, that I have very little room. Well, that's when we make a community and we grow it together somewhere. It has been done and it can be done again. And I'm in that process. I'm looking for places where I can expand and grow more of my food, because it's that important. Today, though, I want to talk about other reasons why it is so important to grow some of our own food, and hopefully as we grow together, we will find ways to continue to grow more and more of our own food, because it is that important. So there are many reasons why growing your own food is so important. Something that was so natural before has become almost abstract to most of the world. A lot of the kids in the world really don't even understand where food comes from. It's that sad. At the moment, right now, I'm in a little crisis situation here in Argentina. There was a pretty nasty devaluation of the peso over the last couple of days. And to tell you the truth, I don't keep up on this stuff really anymore, because I believe I have more important things to do. But as I talk to people, they let me know kind of what is happening. But yeah, it came to me through someone else. I had no idea what was going on. But one day to the next, it went from somewhat stable the peso to not that stable, the peso. And it seems like it's kind of coming back to a stable situation, but it was from one day to the next, or one day to the next 2 days, it went pretty crazy. But Argentina has been through this so many times. I mean, I can't believe they keep going through the same exact thing. But I'm getting first-hand experience of what is going on. I mean, life just continues one day at a time, but people's current lifestyles become more expensive, or they either have to make more money or decrease their standard of living. But if we were growing our own food, would the price of food even affect us? No. By growing our own food, you can prevent the big problem of inflating food prices, and that's so important. Real quick before I continue, I know you're thinking, well, what does this have to do with the importance of growing your own food? I just I haven't watched the news for probably over 20 years. I do read from people I have gained trust in, but that is less and less over the years. I always say that if something really important has happened and I need to know, someone will tell me. So I'm pretty selective of the information I get from media. Mainstream media I don't even bother with. Like I said, I haven't watched mainstream media for over 20 years now. I'm pretty sure that by doing this, my health has been benefited, and I recommend the same. Start slow, and over time, stop watching mainstream media, and I mean even stop reading the paper, because it's pretty much worthless. The information that you get is pretty much worthless to your circle of influence. All right, back to what I want to talk about. No, wait, one more thing. One more thing, super quick. I believe the simple way to fix the problem would be get rid of the central banks of the world. I mean, it wouldn't be easy, but it's the simple fix to the economic problems we see all over the world. But all right, back to what I was talking about. So another reason why we should be growing our own food, and right here, this is the part. It gives us back some of our freedom. I've heard from a couple of people. I think one of them might have been Jack Spirko. I think another one might have been Jeff Lawton, and other people that work within permaculture. But they say that the first taste of someone taking back some of their freedom happens with a shovel. The moment you stick a shovel in the dirt to plant some of your own food, you become more free. And almost always, that's the first sense of freedom that wakes you up to your situation, and you begin an awesome journey to finding your true freedom. Because freedom has to be individual at this moment in the world. We will never find freedom through government. I can pretty much promise you that. Most times, the opposite will happen. So we must find ways to free ourselves from the systems that are making us sick and poor. And I just don't mean economically. I'm also talking about poor socially. And this is why the prime directive of permaculture is so important. It's all about this. It's another reason why I believe the permaculture lifestyle needs to be part of who we are. Really, I mean, it is a part of who we are. It's all in us. We just have given up those freedoms and placed the responsibility on others. So its primary directive is, and I quote from the designer's manual, the only ethical decision is to take responsibility for our own existence and that of our children. When we do things, are we thinking in the world we will be leaving for our children when we're not here anymore? I mean, do we even think about that question anymore? Or we just continue life day to day? So I actually want to share a part that Bill Mollison wrote in the designer's manual. It's actually in chapter 1. And it says, so this is straight from the designer's manual. The sad reality is that we are in danger of perishing from our own stupidity and lack of personal responsibility to life. If we become extinct because of factors beyond our control, then we can at least die with pride in ourselves. But to create a mess in which we perish by our own inaction makes nonsense of our claims to consciousness and morality. There is too much contemporary evidence of ecological disaster which appalls me, and it should frighten you too. Our consumptive lifestyle has led us to the very brink of annihilation. We have expanded our right to live on the earth to an entitlement to conquer the earth, yet conquerors of nature always lose. To accumulate wealth, power, or land beyond one's needs in a limited world is to be truly immoral, be it as an individual an institution, or a nation state. What we have done, we can undo. There's no longer time to waste nor any need to accumulate more evidence of disasters. The time for action is here. I deeply believe that people are the only critical resource needed by people. We ourselves, if we will organize our talents, are sufficient to each other. What is more, we will either survive together or none of us will survive. To fight between ourselves is as stupid and wasteful as is to fight during times of natural disasters when everyone's cooperation is vital. A person of courage today is a person of peace. The courage we need is to refuse authority and to accept only personally responsible decisions. Like war, growth at any cost is an outmoded and discredited concept. It is our lives which are being laid to waste. What is worse, it is our children's world which is being destroyed. It is therefore our only possible decision to withhold all support for destructive systems and to cease to invest our lives in our own annihilation. The prime directive of permaculture, the only ethical decision is to take responsibility for our own existence and that of our children. Make it now. And that last part being in bold. So freedom, building freedom around ourselves and helping our kids have that same freedom by building systems that regenerate, that will give back, is so important. Freedom is a very important part of our health. If we are not free to choose, and many freedoms we make the choice to give up affects our internal health and our physical health. The more free we are, the more easily we can achieve health, reach homeostasis. It has been a long time since I used that word, but homeostasis is true health. It's when we are in complete balance. So I'm pretty sure you've seen pictures of rocks stacked up on each other, and one on top of another, and it goes higher and higher and higher. I've seen some like 8 and 9 feet tall with big rocks. I don't even understand how the people actually get those rocks to balance. But that is a sign. If seeing those rocks balance, that's a true sign of health. That's where we find true health. It's when we can have that balance, and we can only achieve that if we're free to achieve it. I know you're thinking, but I am free. Are you? Are you free to eat nutrient-dense food when your body asks for it? Or are there certain factors that make it difficult and sometimes just not possible? Are there certain institutions that work together to make it just a little bit more difficult or a lot more difficult for you to provide your ecosystem of cells the nutrient it deserves and needs to truly be healthy? I use what is actually happening in Argentina. It is becoming more expensive to buy food. Well, 95% of it, I guess, we can't really call food because it is due to the economic situation that was brought on by the political system. But if we had our own food production, that stress in life would be a lot less. That increasing our overall health and giving us freedom from the economic and political stresses caused by organizations that are truly not in our circle of influence. There's not much we can do about those things. So, have we been taught, or are we being taught about things that are just not true about health? I mean, the best example that I can remember is I remember those old magazines with the doctors promoting a certain type of cigarette. I mean, that's just one example, and we see it in our natural food system today. We see it happening over and over again, that they're saying, no, what's being grown in monoculture is fine. But if you look at the health of the world, and it's just not the food system, but that has a major part to it, we're not healthier. So the same thing is happening today, just like it happened before. The things have not changed, it's just the products. And as we learn, and we'll see in the future that will come back, and just as we see the advertisements for the doctors selling cigarettes in the past, we'll look back and see the exact same thing and like, wow, look at what they said and look what it has done. So how do we break away from the modern food system? How do we take one of our freedoms back? How do we provide what our bodies need? Growing some of your own food. So your freedom starts with a shovel. Not only do we become more free, but we are actually fighting for freedom by digging in the dirt. We are saying to an unhealthy, completely unstable food system that is destroying the ecosystem that we are part of, Earth, which we cannot be healthy without, and we become just more sick. As it becomes more sick, we are fighting for that. That is another reason why we must be growing some of our own food, to be more free and to fight for the freedoms of our children, because they are the ones that will be inhabiting this earth in the future, not us. So I know this episode was not about how to, but to want to learn how to, we must know the why we do things. Why are we trying to grow some of our own food? Grow nutrient-dense food. Grow food that is on fertile soil without chemicals, not just to provide you today with what your bodies deserve, but to make you free from a completely unsafe, unhealthy, unstable system that will only make the lives of our children that much more sick. So growing your own food is liberating. I remember when I was young, my parents basically raised us on food from the garden. At that moment in my life, I don't recall if I liked it or not. I probably didn't. I probably preferred to play all day long outside in the sun instead of weeding the rows of corn. But that gave us freedom. And not only did it give us freedom, it gave us the health that we have today. I am beyond grateful. I've told them many times, and I've said it many times on this podcast. I am so grateful for that opportunity that I had from since I can remember to about 9 years of age to eat the majority of my food that came from our own backyard. I'm so grateful for that. It has taught me so many great life lessons that I'm hopefully going to be able to continue to teach. Well, I will teach to my kids. So they had control of what they were giving us. And they didn't have to worry about buying from the modern food system. So they had freedom. Was it an easy life? I don't believe so. Was it a satisfying life? I imagine it was. Was it worth it? I am beyond grateful for what they gave me and their great example that they gave me. So I would say yes. And it is a life I am looking to emulate because it will help me and my family be more free. So pick up your shovel and dig in the dirt and become more free. With freedom comes health, and with health, the possibilities are endless. So please comment. What did you like about this episode? What do you not like about this episode? And if you like this episode, please share it so we can all become just a little bit more healthy, one episode at a time.